Hey guys, Lexi here. I was looking through my YouTube videos today and realized that I speak about surrendering a lot, but I've never done a video on surrender and what it means to me, why you'd want to do it, and how it's really helped me in my life. I talk all the time about surrendering to what is, being in the present moment. And I know I've had a lot of questions from people that didn't quite understand the significance of surrender and why you'd want to do it. So first of all, to me, surrender means giving up the struggle or the resistance against something you don't like. And the example I use a lot that pertains to my life is illness. I had ulcerative colitis. It's an irritable bowel disease, autoimmune disease for 15 years. And I struggled with it. I fought against it. I created my own suffering. I refused to see another perspective to it for a very long time. I was really focused on trying to do everything outside of myself, like diets and supplement and lifestyle changes to help it heal. But I never found lasting relief doing all of that. And if anybody has read my story, one of my versions of my story is on my website, healingattheheart.com. under the About tab. If you read that story, I talk a little bit in there about how I finally, when I was at the height of disease, I was extremely sick and a lot of pain. The doctors were talking about removing my colon, that I finally just gave up and surrendered. It took me to hit rock bottom before I was able to surrender to what was going on, to surrender to life, to surrender to illness, to surrender to everything I didn't like. And the main reason it took me so long to surrender was because I was always told, you have to continue the fight to survive. I was told, as I believe many are told, because it's a real cultural belief, that if you give up, you basically are saying that you're okay with being sick, that the illness won, and that you're gonna die and you're okay with that. Well, that's partially true, but partially not true. Because when you surrender, yes, you're giving up. And I recommend giving up often. Because if you don't give up, you're just going against the flow of life. You're just fighting yourself. That's what's creating the struggle, and it really doesn't lead anywhere. But I believe that giving up meant that I was okay with the illness, that I was inviting it to stay, that I was inviting myself to die, and I was somehow a failure. It wasn't until I had fought so hard that I had no fight left, that I allowed myself to give up, that the resistance I had to illness suddenly lifted, and all these other possibilities opened up for me to actually find healing and to hear the messages of what the illness was actually here to show me all along. So surrender to me doesn't mean you're giving the illness power. It doesn't mean you're giving your power over to a situation you don't like, another person, an illness. It means that you're giving up the struggle, that you're putting down the fight, that you realize that there really is no fight. You're just fighting yourself when you're in resistance. And things may not shift and change right away. They may not. They might, but they may not. And also, I guess when you're thinking about surrender and how do you surrender, that's the other question. How do you surrender? So for me, like I said, I had to hit rock bottom to completely surrender and let go. But you don't have to hit rock bottom. That was just what I needed to do. I had put up a very strong fight my entire life to be okay. All these false beliefs that I thought I had to hold myself to survive so I'd be okay in life, whatever that means. We're all okay, right? Even if we are sick. Nothing wrong with that. But surrendering means you really just make everything okay. Even the things you don't like. So if you're having a hard time letting go and surrendering to the moment, you can start telling yourself things like, it's okay that I believe I need to be sick. It's okay that I'm in this situation I really don't like. It's okay that I'm in extreme pain. It's only temporary. Anything in life is temporary. And for me specifically, I had to make it okay that I was about to lose my colon, my large intestine. That was something that also terrified me. But like I said, I was exhausted. I had to give up the fight and surrender. I had nothing left physically. I was crumpled up on the bathroom floor the night that this happened because I could not get up. I was physically done. So I had to make it okay that I was going to lose my colon. I had to make it okay that I thought I was probably going to die and leave my young children. None of these things are easy to do. None of these things I wanted. And I ended up not having my colon removed. And obviously I ended up not dying. So surrender doesn't mean that you're giving up to a fate that you feel you inevitably are going to have, because you don't know what you're going to end up with. You don't know what's in store for you. You don't know what shifts are going to happen in your life. But what I do know, and what I'd like to share on surrender, is that anytime you give up a struggle against yourself and against things you don't like, it only helps you become who you want to be. It only helps you open up to be able to see the possibilities that you couldn't see when you were in resistance. So that's the significance of surrender. So it's not giving over your power to something that is uncontrollable or an unseen fate. It is giving up, but it's not giving up on life. It's giving up on the struggle against life, or against the illusions that you think are in your life, the things you think you have to fight against to survive that you really don't. A lot of this is cultural. A lot of this was taught and passed down through the generations, how life is a struggle. It doesn't have to be. It might be for a while. I had a pretty, good fight. It wasn't until I was 31 years old that I think I finally surrendered for the first time in my life to all my deepest fears and allowed them all to be okay. I allowed it to be okay that I thought I might die, right? That's a huge one. That's a really big one, because that's the one I had learned from being in the medical system and being around other people, that is supposedly never okay. You're never supposed to be okay with dying. But how can you not be? Because the moment we're born, we're all gonna die anyway, right? As soon as your birth certificate is signed, you know you have a death certificate coming. That is the way this world works. We do not have these bodies forever. We are not our bodies. We are so much more. So it's time to give up the struggle. Everything's okay. We're only going to be here for as long as we're going to be here, and we can continue to struggle and fight against what we don't like, or we can surrender and see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen. That's probably the scariest part. But I guarantee you, magical things will happen when you give up, and give up often. There's just no other way. When you join back to the flow of life, you start to come back home to yourself. And that's where we want to be. That's where we create the life that we are desiring. That's where our joy, our passion, our creativity resides, in knowing that we are okay, even if things we don't like are happening around us and to our physical bodies. We are still okay. We don't need to fight against it. We can surrender. We can surrender. We can let go. We can let go in the terms of not like dropping a ball, physically letting go of our fear, but we can let go as in turning to a vibration that feels better. Turning away from the vibration of struggle and towards the vibration of something that feels better, whatever it might be in that moment. You'll know what feels better than struggling and fighting against illness. Maybe it's just turning on the TV and watching a comedy show, taking your mind totally off of it. That can be a part of surrender. It doesn't have to be this big, old story and huge. I mean, yes, I did have a pretty impactful surrender, but it doesn't have to be that way. And you don't have to hit rock bottom. Allow yourself to think about what you like in your life right now. Allow your thoughts and your story to realign in a way that feels better to you. Let go of the struggle. See what happens. And I'd love to hear what happens. If you've let go of your struggle, if you started to surrender to life, leave your story in the comments. I would love to hear of some of the shifts that happened in your life when you decided to surrender to what is. Have a great day, guys.